Okay, everyone, I hope the sound is okay now. I had horrible, horrible technical problems. I hope you can hear me now. So, let's see if I can pull you up. Um, okay. Yeah, it was quite heavy weather that night. Okay. So, on the 29th to 28th of September, which uh, was 30 years ago last week, Saturday. So on the night between the 27th and 28th, um, around 1:50 a.m. UTC plus 2 or Eastern European Standard Time started happening. Was the first bang that was allegedly heard on the ferry, and shortly after 1 a.m. the 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 boat started listing really heavily, and by 1:20 the list was uh, 30 to 40 degrees on starboard side. Starboard side. Um, I mean, it's it's heavy. You know, Nimrod. The weather it was um, really heavy that night. Uh, Okay, because I think one of the captains of the rescue ship said that that it wasn't unusual. It was rough, yeah. The Let me see. Yeah, according to the final disaster reports, the weather was rough with um with let me see, wind of 15 to 25 meters per second, uh, 29 to 49 knots, or 34 to 56 miles per hour. And there was 7 to 10 on the Beaufort scale, and significant wave height was between 4 and 6 meters, which is 13 to 20 feet, uh, which is compared to the highest measured significant wave height on the Baltic Sea, um, is 7.7 meters. So it's and Esa Mäkelä, who was the captain of Silja Europa, who was he was appointed the on-scene commander of the rescue effort, described the weather as normally bad, or typical for a typical autumn storm in the Baltic Sea. It was normal. The weather that night was described by professionals as normal. So I've sailed Europa as well. So it wasn't super unusual because it was normal. The weather was considered normal for the time. It was hard but not unusual. Um, so the ferry MS Estonia was run by Estline, which was half owned by the Estonian state and half by Sweden, or a Swedish company. Let me get you some stuff on the ship. It was built. Uh, it was launched in 1980, and before it went to S line, it operated in Finland. You know, between Finland and Sweden. For the first 10 years, it was Viking Salli. 1990 to 91, it was Silja Star. 91 to 93, it was Vasa King. And then 1993 to 1994, it was called MS Estonia. It was built in Babenburg, West Germany. So the thing here is that the official cause of the sinking was the separation of the bow visor from the rest of the ship. Is a row ship, so basically it opens, the car deck opens from both ends. So basically, the bow visor can be raised, and then you can the cars and trucks drive in, and when they drive in, and then for example, when they leave Tallinn, they um, they drive the cars in from the rear, and the ship docks in Stockholm. You know, the head bow, the bow visor to the dock, and they open it so they can just drive out. So the bow visor locking mechanisms just gave way in the bad weather, and that caused the deadliest peacetime shipwreck in European waters ever, with 852 lives out of 989 on board lost. And the wreck lies at 59 degrees 23 minutes north, 21 degrees 41 minutes east. And they found the bow visor, like, I think 15 kilometers away, 15 kilometers, something like that, away from the main wreck. And they found the ramp as well. When the bow visor, gave way and dropped to the sea, it took there was an inner visor, but it was too close to there was the visor and then the inner ramp. But the inner ramp, if that hadn't given way, this would have been avoided, maybe. So when it was, and that was a bit, somewhere near the bow visor. So there was a metallic bang heard about 1 a.m. 1 a.m. in when the boat or the ship was in the outskirts of Turku archipelago, which is on the, I don't know what the word is in English. Um, it's not territorial waters, but the in its territory constituous zone. It was on the Finnish exclusive economic zone, so it wasn't the territorial waters, but the yeah. So that was around 1 a.m. And this was presumably caused, at least according to the official reports, caused by a heavy wave hitting the bow visor. And there was an inspection, but it showed no problems at this point. Well, it wasn't. It was. This was probably the time that the most of the damage happened. The most important. But this inspection was limited to checking the indicator lights for the ramp and the visor, and no problems. And in around the next 10 minutes or so, similar noises were reported by passengers and crew, and around 1:15 a.m., that's just 15 minutes later, the visor is believed to have been separated and torn open, and tearing the loading ramp behind it. And at this point, there was a heavy starboard list, which was about 15 to 20 degrees, and then by 1:30 it was approximately 60 degrees, and 1:50 it was 90 degrees, and at approximately 1:50 the Estonia radar echo disappeared from the other ships. They could no longer see um, any more radar echoes, and only 100 it's estimated that 300 to 350 people, but 300 and somewhere between 300 and 350 people made it to the outer decks, and many people were stuck in their cabins because when it listed all their stuff, many people were trapped in their cabins because their stuff, everything that was loose, the tables, luggage, everything, blocked the door, and they couldn't get out, and that was it. By the way, today it's Shime Blue Label, 9% ABV, and it was only at 1:22 that the ship's crew communicated a mayday call, but they have been criticized for first doing it so late. Second, they didn't follow the international formats. International format is just putting it out there, but Estonia were directly calling for specific other ships. First, they called Silja Europa, where the chief mate got replied to them, and it was someone else. It was I've forgotten his first name, but it was Törnsalo, I think, the second mate who called the first, and then then after that, it was the third mate, Andres Stammes, who took over the radio. And here, I think here you can see. Let's see. Um, S-Line was part owned by Viking. I don't think so. Um, S-Line was it doesn't exist anymore. I think they went bankrupt or something. Was a Swedish Estonian shipping company owned jointly by Nordstrom et Thulin and the Estonian government via Estonian shipping company. So Nordstrom et Thulin, it wasn't Viking. Yeah, Nordstrom et Thulin is not Viking Line. It's a Swedish ship company. Yeah, it's not. It wasn't owned by Viking Line. Viking Line. Yeah. Um, yeah, but they're. But I don't want to talk badly of the dead. They did what they had. They did what they thought was best at the time. So they did what they thought was best at the time. So, but they're gone now. So I don't want to talk shit about the dead. You can talk shit. Which documentary? Because every well, for example, the internet says that it was owned. It was I mean the Estonia, the ferry, was previously owned by Viking Line. Yes, it was. Ah, I see the confusion. It was previously owned by Viking Line, and Viking Line sold them, sold the stuff. The Estonia was operated by Viking Line from 1980 to 1990. Then it was sold to Silja Line. Then it was operated from 1991 to 93 as Vasa King, and then in 1993 it was sold by, from as Vasa Line. So it, I mean, I can see it operated within. Not that who owned it matters, but yeah, the ship was owned as Vikings. The boat was owned previously by Viking Line as yeah, it was previously owned by Viking Line. At the time of sinking, it was not. It was owned by the Estonian government and a Swedish company, which was not Viking Line. Uh, I think I'll play you a bit of the. Now you can see how, because they were panicking already on Estonia. So I think I'll play you a bit of. Play a bit of that. This is in partially in Finnish and English, but this has English subtitles. Fy fan.
Europa, Estonia. Silja, Europa, Estonia.
Estonia, this is Europe replying on June 16th.
This is the second mate. Replying from Europa is the second, Silja Europa's second mate, Teijo Seppelin.
Silja, Europa.
Estonia.
Oh, and they had huge troubles. They had huge trouble getting contact with the emergency channel 16. This is on channel 16, but they, for example, channel 16 is the emergency channel. Yes, it's the emergency channel is the 16. So they when someone calls Mayday, it's always on channel 16, and they had trouble reaching the coast. The coastal stations, and they had to use their mobile phones, which were the really rudimentary. They got in touch by phone, by
This is
by telephone, by mobile phone.
Silja, Europe on June 16th.
Silja, Europa, Viking, Estonia.
Estonia.
Mayday.
In the background, you can hear, from Estonia, you can hear the stuff falling around.
Estonia.
Estonia, Silja Europa. Are you calling Mayday? Estonia, what's going on? Can you reply?
This is Estonia. Kuka se on siellä?
That wasn't finished.
Yes, Estonia, this is Silja Europa.
Hyvää huomenta, puhutko sä suomea?
Joo, puhun suomea.
Joo, meillä on nyt tässä ongelma. On paha kallistuma.
You cannot hear it, but this dude, this Andres Tammes, he can actually speak actually really good Finnish actually, but he has a really thick Estonian accent.
Oikealle puolelle. Uskon, että oli 30 astetta. Voisitko sä tulla apuun ja pyytää myös Viking Linein apun?
Joo, Viking Line on tässä perässä ja meni varmaan tietoon. Ja voitko antaa sun position?
Siis meillä pätkitään, meillä on blackout ja emme saa nyt, mä en osaa sanoa sitä.
Okei, selvä. Ryhdytään toimiin.
Silja Europa, Mariella.
Jo, Europa, Mariella här var Europa.
That's in Swedish.
Ja, hördu, fick du klart för dig deras position? Är det de som är här till babord om oss?
Nej, jag fick ingen position av dem, men de måste nog vara här i närheten. De har 20-30 graders styrbordsslagsida och blackout.
Ja, jag tror att de som är på...
Yeah, that's just something I want to point out. They switched to Swedish because most of the at least the captain, a lot of the captains are from Åland Islands, which is an autonomous province of Finland, and they quite often, more often than not, they don't speak any Finnish. So the staff on Silja Europa are mostly the first mate and the captain are from the mainland. And in Finland there's mandatory conscriptions for all men at the age of 18, from the age of 18. But from Åland Islands, which is the Åland Islands, it's demilitarized by international treaties. So the Åland Islands, men from Åland Islands don't have to go to the military. But one of the reasons that Esa Mäkelä, the captain of Silja Europa, was chosen as the on-scene commander is that, first of all, he's fluent in both Finnish, Swedish, and English, and he went to the military. He actually I think he actually is a reservist Navy captain. Sorry, at that time, in 1994, he was a Finnish Navy reservist lieutenant. So, and Nimrod, this is from the dialect that he speaks is the Åland Finnish, Åland Swedish. So it's different from the Swedish varieties spoken in the mainland.
Våran babordsida, här är ungefär 45 grader kanske.
Okej, joo. Jag pyrrän Sheppan just.
Silja Europa, Estonia.
No, Estonia, Silja Europa.
Oletteko tulossa apuun?
Joo, kyllä. Voitteko sanoa ihan, onko teillä mitään paikkaa tarkkaan?
Mä en osaa sanoa, koska meillä on blackout tässä.
Joo, te näette meidät kyllä vai?
Kuulen kyllä, joo.
Okei, me ruvetaan selvittämään teidän paikkaa nyt tässä pieni hetki. Joo, selvä, että me tullaan apuun totta kai, mutta meidän täytyy nyt määritellä teidän paikka.
Helsinki Radio, kanal 16. Helsinki.
Mariella, Silja Europa.
Jo, här var Mariella.
Jo, har du fått någon synkontakt till Estonia alltså?
Nej.
Måste börja försöka hitta den någonstans. Då är det lite svårt att säga då när det inte har någon position.
Silja Europa, Estonia.
Jo, Estonia ja Silja Europa.
Mä sanon sulle paikan nyt.
Joo, anna tulla. 50
29 latituudia, pieni hetki. 22 astetta.
Okei, 22 astetta, selvä, lähdetään sinne.
Elikkä siis 59 latituudia ja 22 minuuttia.
59, 22 minuuttia longituudissa.
21.40 idästä.
21.40.
There in the back, you can hear stuff, you know, falling in on Estonia.
Tästä, okei.
Todella pahalta näyttää se nyt tässä kyllä.
Joo, ja pahalta näitä me ollaan tulossa, ja se oli 21.40.
Tien päässä saat.
And this was the last anyone heard of MS Estonia. It was really sad. 137 people lost their lives. The youngest was 12, and more men than women survived. And actually, I saw an interview with an Estonian lady who worked at the ship, and she was about to quit her job, and this was her last trip on the boat because she was pregnant, and she made it out alive, and some months later gave birth to a healthy baby boy. It's amazing. It's amazing how that goes sometimes. It's really, and this was 30 years ago now. Finns roll their ass, yeah. Yeah. Nimrod says, I have been on Europa and Mariella. I didn't know at the time that I had been on 2 of the ships that tried to help Estonia. Yeah, actually, the Estonia got, the captain, I saw an interview with the captain, Esa Mäkelä, and he said that they couldn't lower their own boats, but what they could do is that they launched one of those orange rubber rescue things. They lowered one close to the water, and then just in case someone was able to hop onto it. But actually, they actually got one, and they also put out the small stairs from there's this what do you call it? They opened one of the doors and threw out a ladder, and there was actually one man who jumped out of one of these orange things in those huge waves and the wind, and swam to Silja Europa and grabbed the ladder and took the ladder, took hold of the ladder and climbed up. And he had been in the water for several hours. It was quite amazing. And they actually, out of the 137, they got 40 people. They saved 40 people to Mariella. So of the boats, Mariella got most. They got 40. They did what they could, and when they got the helicopters, when helicopters started arriving from Finland and Sweden, there was a difference between the Swedish system and the Finnish system. The Finnish, what we called the frogmen. The frogmen, they jumped like from 5 meters, almost. I think someone said like 9 meters up. They detached themselves from the hook, but the Swedish system, they couldn't detach themselves from the line. So one guy, one time, it happens so that the 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 system that was used to roll up the guys from the water, it froze, and they had to fly like 40 kilometers in that storm while the the diver was hanging 30 meters, from from the line. The guy was hanging from the 30-meter line in that weather when they flew 40 kilometers to the nearest military base, which was 40 kilometers away. And they actually, what the it was most of the survivors were saved by the Finns, because we had the system going, and we had the capabilities, because the Swedish, they couldn't detach the guy from the line, whereas the Finnish guy dropped himself into the water, swam to the orange thingy, and then one by one, and then one by one took. They had this thing they put under their arms, and then just lifted up, and they could save up to I think five at once, 5 or 6 at once. So like on one round, and this I saw an interview, or what was a presentation rather, by one of the by a Finnish fire chief who had been there that night doing that shit. They said that they were just finishing up their 12-hour shift at the fire station. He formed a specialist group, had formed a year or so prior, and then they were about finishing up their 12-hour shift at the fire station, and then they got the call. There's a huge passenger ferry has capsized and sunk, and then they said this guy with his group, this fire chief with his group, in addition to their 12-hour shift at the fire station, they flew three-hour flights. So they 12 hours at the station, and then 3 hours flights, refuel, coffee, 3 hours, refuel, coffee, 3 hours, refuel, coffee, and then home. So these are amazing. Nimrod, well, so-called safety culture. The Swedish guy had to, he was hanging out, he was hanging in that safety line, 30 meters below the helicopter in that weather, when the helicopter was flying full speed for 40 kilometers out in the sea. So that's about the Swedish safety culture, and they eat surströmming. So that's about the safety culture for the Swedes. And the fire chief, the Finnish fire chief, said that later on he read the report, and the report said that after that incident, the guy was inoperative. The report said inoperative. So you can understand. I can understand why the guy was inoperative. So, oh, Sweden. Is that really possible? If and if the helo crashes, well, so do they. Yeah. Is that really what? I have eight 8 viewers. Come on, like seriously, is this how in the good God is this possible? Sorry. Oh, is that really possible? Oops. I guess so. I guess it is. Oh, oh, by the way, those who weren't here last week, I am now a member of the Satanic Temple. I even got a certificate. Yeah. Emerald says Estonian is a famous happening. I still remember the news reports of it from when I was 11. Yeah, I was how long? How old was I? 7. It was really big. I mean, it's all they talked about on the news. I mean, it really shook Finland too, even though there were only 5 Finnish citizens on board, of whom three of 5 Finnish citizens survived. However, a lot of the passengers traveling on a Swedish passport um, were actually of Finnish origin. They had Finnish last names, so there's a give that's a big giveaway. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I would have liked to do a um, stream about this last week, actually on the day, but I couldn't because I was at work. I Because I work the night shifts now. I can't really stream on on the evenings that I go to work. On those, I would like to stream every Friday or put out every Friday, but not always not always possible because of my work schedules. Nimrod says, so you be an 87 kid. Don't talk if I'm being uncouth. How are you doing with your injury that happened to you? Uh, they're probably talking about the one that I had last year on my shoulder. Um, I'm alright. I mean, the surgery went well, and the rehab. I finished a 1 year rehab on the shoulder. Um, uh, Nimrod. I've been really unregular. Irregular. I think is the word. So yeah, I finished a year of rehab on the shoulder, and I'm fine. It's fine now. I mean, it's better. It seems to be better than before. I think so. They did magic. Those doctors. Yeah. All right, but I think um, I think it's time for me to go for today. I think I've said and done enough for today. All right, but thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.